Hey gang, welcome back to the shop. On the bench today I've got this Loar, or the Loar. What is it? It's an LH301T, which is basically their version of a Gibson ES-125 thin line guitar from the 50s. Sort of a budget model with no cutaway, single pickup. And I've been pretty impressed with what I've seen from Loar. Good bang for the buck. The owner of this guitar bought it brand new. He got it on a good deal, and he wants to do some things to it, sort of do some upgrades. He wants me to take off the glossy finish on the back of the neck, and you know, in terms of setup for this guitar, as it came from the factory, is less than ideal. Really quite abysmal, actually. It was more than 1/8 of an inch action. And what I've done is I've bottomed out the bridge adjustment mechanisms here, and we're still at, even with that at its lowest point, we're still about 7/64ths. I'd like to see that around 4. Certainly needs more adjustment than that. Rather than just shave down this bridge, the player would like me to make a whole new one. He's got sort of a fetish for 1950s era National or Valco airline style bridges. Very distinctive looking bridge that has sort of 2 parallel lines of compensation, and so it looks kind of like a lightning bolt. Very distinctive. He really likes that look, and I've made them for him in the past for other guitars. He wants one on this one. And I guess the thing that would raise a lot of eyebrows is we're going to dispense with the Chinese standard issue P90 here, and we're going to put on a custom Lindy Fralin stacked noiseless P90. It's overwound. Very nice pickup, worth approximately half the retail cost of this guitar when new. So, but he's got it, he wants to try it out, and that's what we're going to do. We're going to put it in for him. Disassembly begins here at the tailpiece. It's nice when manufacturers actually take the time to ground the tailpiece. That doesn't always happen. So we'll work on taking off the jack here. And this is just an old cable which I've carved down enough that I can shove it in through the hole. It fits. This is a good way of moving jacks around inside the body. And after that we will take off the pots and shove those down inside. Doesn't that feel wrong? That's awful. I mean, what are you going to do now? You're in real trouble. So we'll take off the pickup. This is a decent sounding pickup. There's nothing wrong with it. We're just going to see what the Fralin sounds like instead. I swapped out all the electronic components for American-made ones. So we've got a Switchcraft jack, CTS volume, and Emerson no-load tone pot with an orange drop cap. So that should hopefully sound pretty good. Here's my method for working inside F-hole guitars. This is a little plastic drinking straw. I stick that over top of the shaft of the pot, and I can reach through that shaft hole using some long skinny tweezers and pull it up into place. It's still fiddly and annoying, but it works better than some other methods. We'll do some work on the bridge now. I'm using Chechen, which is also known as black poison wood. It's Central American wood, very similar to Brazilian rosewood. It looks a little coffee colored here, but it darkens up considerably when you oil it. Ends up being quite a dark brown. So we'll shave that down and make some facets and shape it, and we won't cut off the end of our fingertips because we're professionals. And we'll get in there with some sanding. Here I'm establishing the radius on the top of the saddle using a radius sanding block, and I'm going to make some stop cuts with a saw for that intonation pattern. We'll use a chisel and a knife, make that nice crisp and clean. And then more sanding. And more sanding again. This is fitting the saddle or the bridge to the top of the guitar. We'll apply 3 coats of a tung oil based varnish. And the frets on the fingerboard extension on this guitar were in really sort of nasty condition. They were a roller coaster, so I flattened those and recrowned them. I'm using a traditional 3-corner file for crowning these days, and I'm really loving it. Then we'll work on the ends of the frets, make those nice and smooth. This always happens when you swap out the pots for an import guitar. The knobs just don't fit anymore. So what are you going to do? I have another trick for that. Get an old spare pot and we'll heat that up with a soldering iron just on the shaft there. We'll get it good and hot. and then we can shove that on there, and that will actually melt the plastic and conform it perfectly. So make sure you push that all the way down right where it needs to be. Much better, and we saved $8. So we'll take the gloss off the back of the neck using some 600 grit sandpaper and a 3M pad, and that looks nice and feels even nicer. So here's a shot of the bridge and the saddle, and this intonation pattern actually works surprisingly well, especially for sets with an unwound G. No problem at all with it. So the guitar is all set up and ready to go. That's it for today. Thanks for watching, and we will see you again soon.